Hello everyone and welcome back to another video, and this is actually going to be a video response from KITT171, who asked what's 5 gaming items we would love to own. And I really think this is no question that all of us gamers and collectors alike always think of, you know, that holy grail, those games that we really wish we had in our collection. It was kind of easy for me because when it comes to collecting, there's not a whole lot that I have to have. A lot of stuff I buy is just because, you know, I find it and I like it. But when, I guess I should say, like, holy grail stuff, I don't have a whole lot when it comes to that, especially with retro consoles. You know, when I recently got my Atari 2600, that was like the last retro console that I desired to have. I mean, of course, there's 2 more that I would love to find out in the wild. I don't plan on buying them online just because they're still expensive. One of the consoles, of course, is the NeoGeo AES. I love the NeoGeo. I really love every single game that's in the library. I, you know, remember seeing it in GamePro magazine. It was always in those little sweepstakes. You remember those, the little crossword puzzles? And it always had like a NeoGeo in the background, and I wanted one so freaking bad to have that arcade experience at my house. And man, you know, it was expensive then and it's gotten even more expensive now. So, you know, I'm fine with my emulators and ROMs. I have to say I bought the NeoGeo X Gold and it wasn't what I was expecting. It's not as good as I wanted it to be, but it's still something NeoGeo I have in my collection. But that is one thing I would love to own. The next thing I would like to own is a TurboGrafx 16, or better yet, a Turbo Duo. And the reason why I really want a Turbo Duo is because I've talked to a lot of collectors that collect a lot for, you know, the NTC systems like the TurboGrafx, the PC Engine, and they told me the best route to go is the Turbo Duo. Now, the Turbo Duo is still an expensive console, but with it being Japanese, is actually kind of region free. Not with the Hue cards. The Hue cards are still region locked, but the TurboGrafx CD games can actually be played on it. And I found out that the TurboGrafx 16 games are a lot more expensive than the Japanese counterpart. It's a little easier to collect for the PC Engine than it is the TurboGrafx, but it's still so expensive. And honestly, I was very late to the whole TurboGrafx craze. I mean, I didn't know too much about it when I was younger because it wasn't around. Like, you know, we all played the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, the Sega Genesis, and, you know, some of the consoles after that. I never even knew about the TurboGrafx until I was a lot older, and I had, you know, gotten a magazine, and it had like a bunch of tips and tricks and history of gaming consoles, and I remember it said something about the TurboGrafx, and that's when I learned about it. And I would love to have one in my collection, no doubt. I would love to have it. My next one would be, man, I would love to have a Link shield and sword in my collection. I mean, I have, you know, a lot of Zelda stuff. I love the Legend of Zelda series, and we're really lucky because the Zelda merchandise is everywhere. I mean, everywhere there's Zelda stuff. But I would love to have a sword and shield, and I know they're out there. I just, you know, haven't had a chance to find one for a price that I want to pay for it, or find one out in the wild that, you know, at flea markets and stuff. 'Cause, you know, some of the flea markets up north, like in Raleigh, have, you know, sword shops and stuff like that. And I mean, one day I might go in there and buy one. I feel like having a Zelda sword and shield, I feel like that's, you know, it's like a Star Wars fan having a lightsaber. It's like you have to have it. So I would love to have that. My next one would probably be the Power Glove. I mean, it's a failed peripheral for the NES, but I really like the concept of it. I'm a big fan of The Wizard. That's probably one of my favorite movies of all time. It was just basically an hour-and-a-half NES advertisement. But I remember that scene with the Power Glove, and they're playing, you know, that racing game. I think they were playing the Pole Position, I want to say. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I know you will. But I would love to have that. Power Glove, man. That'd be so awesome. And let's see, that's 4. The last one is actually a game. There is a game that I hold in high regard as almost like my holy grail, and that is Castlevania Dracula X on the Super Nintendo. Now, I have Castlevania Dracula X on the Virtual Console. I have it on ROMs and emulation, and I've beaten it, but I do not have it for the Super Nintendo. And one of the main reasons why I want it is because I'm a huge Castlevania fan, and also this is the only Castlevania US release game I don't have in my collection. I have all of them. I have the ones on the Game Boy, the NES, Super Nintendo, N64. I mean, so many. But that's one I don't have, and unfortunately, it's the one Castlevania that's still going up in price. So, yeah, I would eventually love to maybe find that out in the wild. I mean, I know I could buy it on eBay. I think it's up to almost 200 bucks now, but I just don't feel like paying that much for a game. I'm a cheap gamer, I'm not gonna lie. I don't like paying a whole lot for retro games, and I kind of feel like I like finding them on my own. I like going to like a thrift store or to a mom and pop shop, or someone just texts me and they're like, hey, I have a shoebox full of Super Nintendo games I want to sell. Do you want to buy them? And one of the games in there would be like Dracula X. One can only dream. But yeah, guys, what are some of your gaming items that you would like to have? Like 5 to be particular. And do a response video yourself to KITT171. And I'll have a link on the description below to his channel. Be sure you check his channel out. And I'll have some other videos from other YouTubers, some friends of mine that also did their own video responses. And of course, if you make a video response, feel free to share it on the XS Gaming Podcast community page as well on Facebook. I'll have a link to that as well. So anyway, guys, as always, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and as always, happy gaming.
Can't get enough of XS Gaming Podcast? Be sure to check out our audio podcast on podomatic.com. You can also subscribe to us on iTunes. And if you have a YouTube channel or podcast you'd like to share, be sure to check us out on Facebook on our group page and join the community. As always, guys, thank you so much for all the support, and happy gaming.